Do you want me to send you a link, or...
No, it's my headphones. Now they're not pairing to mine.
That sucks. I will turn Bluetooth off on my computer.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm on your thingamajig. How do I... I'm on your page.
May I?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, are you ready, Des? Des, are you ready? Oh, she can't hear me. Shit. Now are you able to hear me?
Yes,
That's
very
weird.
loudly. Let me turn you down a little bit. There we go.
Okay. So, we are...
There's huge lag.
Yeah, it's usually a few seconds. That's given the stream and everything time to process it all and everything. Sorry, friend. Okay. Sorry, friend. No, shit. Okay. And we are going live in 5, 4, 3. Hello, hello, wonderful people. Welcome back again for another Topic Tuesday. I get to have the wonderful, the amazing, the smart, the incredibly vampiric Des M. Aster back on my stream. And also, special returning guest, Abby. We're going to be talking about queer people grooming kids. A lot less likely than you think. The reason I wanted to do this Topic Tuesday in particular is that there are a lot of accusations, especially from queerphobes, that queer people groom children. And with trans people being the new hot trend to bully, there's a lot of accusations that we're out transing the kids. Oh my god, there's children! Won't anyone think about them? So yeah, we're just gonna talk a little bit about that. Des, if I'm not mistaken, you are bisexual, correct?
Yes, I am. That was a new development roughly a few months ago. I discovered that.
Oh. Well, congratulations for discovering stuff about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the queer community, have you faced any kind of accusations that you've ever, tried to groom any kids simply through existing?
I have not. I'm lucky to have
No.
avoided that. A lot of people, I thought I was straight for up until for 2 decades, so it's all new to me. So I haven't gone through any of the terrible things aside from some folks saying that you can't be bi in a relationship with a cishet guy, but that's a whole different issue. So no,
Yeah,
I
that's
have not.
complete BS. You can be bi and still be in a totally cishet or totally heterosexual or homosexual relationship. It doesn't make
Right.
you any less bi.
Exactly, yeah.
So the most common accusation directed towards me, and I guess it kind of gets directed towards Abby as well, is that through simply existing as trans people, we are queering the kids. We are transing their genders. And I remember getting into an argument with a TERF at one point. So for those of you that don't know, I run an online space called the Trans Radical Antifa Nation, which is a place for queer people to come in, question themselves, hang out, stuff like that. A lot of the people on Tran are trans teenagers. And something I do is anytime anyone questions their gender, their sexuality, I just provide them an open space to question that. I don't judge them, I don't push them one way or the other, I just give them acceptance and patience. And the fact that I do that on Tran around a bunch of kids has led to several TERFs accusing me of luring kids in and then transing their genders and ruining their families and everything like that. And I think that is absolutely hilarious that the sheer...
Hey, Brent.
Yes.
Things grayed out and are no longer moving or making any noise.
That's weird. It's good on my end. You could try reloading your stream. My apologies. Um, but yeah, that is a constant accusation, and that's been directed towards queer people for years. I remember growing up
Yeah.
in the alt-right, and it was a common accusation by my grandparents and the other people of the church that queer people were somehow going out of their way to track down children and groom them.
Which is
And
ironic, given that's what they do.
exactly,
So, you know.
exactly. And like, I remember hearing horror stories of, like, yes, if you ever meet a gay man or anyone that's openly queer, you need to immediately run and tell an adult. And it's like, what? Grandma, there's a guy over here. He's having an incredibly wholesome relationship with his boyfriend. Isn't it terrible? Oh my god.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I think that the reason, at least they think that there's an uptick, is because people are finally able to come out and be more comfortable with themselves.
Exactly.
Whereas the environment a lot before, so everyone's like, oh, everyone's becoming this, and this these days. I mean, it's not true. Everyone is already that way. Anyone who has come out anyway, it's just they feel more comfortable being themselves
Exactly.
with the changes going on, the really positive changes.
Right.
And there's a lot of resistance, but I mean, we'll get there. We're making progress.
Right. Something I like to compare it to, now that you brought that up, is actually being left-handed.
Right.
Because I was left-handed. However, oh, hi, Borealis Creep. Nice to have you back. I grew up left-handed. However, I was made to not use my left hand because I lived in a very conservative town where if I had stayed in the town and graduated, we would have had, like, less than 12 kids in my graduating class.
It just shows that conservatives are just completely out of touch. I mean, being angry at people for being born with left hands,
Right?
it's illogical.
I was literally told as a kid that being left-handed was the sign of the devil, that it would make me queer, and that on top of it, that, like, using the left hand to write stuff was, like, it would cripple me, it would ruin my ability to do things, all this other stuff. And
Oh, my lover is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
and I was forced to learn to I was forced to learn to use my right hand. And now that I'm so used to writing with my right hand, I can't write with my left one, but I also can't really do much with my right one either.
That's annoying.
So,
It really is.
So they crippled you by forcing you to write with your right.
Exactly. And
That's ridiculous.
it is. But whenever people stopped viewing left-handedness as a stigma, suddenly the amount of left-handed people rose. And yeah, that's the exact same thing that's going on with queer peeps right now, is we're just being allowed to be more open, and so we're all coming out a lot more.
Yeah. And they're thinking this is a war on their religion, but I mean, their religion has
Queer
been
and
oppressive and
left-handed.
terrible anyway. So like,
What's
just
that?
stop
I
forcing.
said I'm queer and left-handed. Sorry.
No worries.
Yes, Mom, Dad, that's why I'm queer. I had a left hand.
I've got a counter to that. My cishet lover is left-handed, and he's tested.
yeah.
He's not bi. He's tested it, so he is definitely straight.
Nice.
So we've confirmed it.
Got it. Well, don't worry, us damn queer folk will find a way.
Technically, we have, since I'm bi. By default, it's a queer relationship. So
Yes! We've won!
corrupted another one.
We've
Oh my
won.
gosh,
I love
that's
it.
funny.
But something else. Again, as someone that grew up in the fundamentalist evangelical sphere, who grew up all right, something that I've noticed with a lot of the fear-mongering involving children and queer folk. Whenever I was a child, and I realize this in retrospect, but as a child, queer people grooming kids was used not only as a way to, ostracize openly queer people, but it was a way for them to ensure my adherence to their fundamentalist beliefs, because I was constantly under the fear of being molested and raped. But then on top of that, whenever I did start to question myself as a child, immediately what started to come to mind is, who did it? Who messed me up? Why am I broken? How can I fix myself? And it pushed me further and further and further into the religion, into those fundamentalist beliefs. And whereas before I had just been a light believer in all their BS, this basically made me like, my church that my grandparents took me to, they would actually use me like a poster child, basically, like, oh, your child is so amazing. Look at how good they are with these fundamentalist beliefs and all these racist thoughts and everything. They're such a good, wonderful child. And that is something that I believe a lot of this fear-mongering is meant to do. It's meant to make it so that for those that are closeted, those that can't come out, feel ostracized, and in doing so, turn deeper and deeper into the messed up mindset of stuff like fundamentalism, gender criticalness, stuff like that. And we see this within the transmedicalist community a lot.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that, but I don't know much about it myself. Transmedicalism, I mean.
Got it. Basically what transmedicalism boils down to is it is what happens when trans people want to be trans without fear, but they also believe the gender critical rhetoric. So you know how there was a push around the late 70s and throughout the 80s to medicalize homosexuality, to get it added to the DSM-5 and everything?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh,
Shouldn't
yeah.
that mean that any heterosexual relationship should also be added because they're legit the same thing?
Yeah.
It's not a disease and it makes no sense. So okay.
Exactly. The way trans medicalists view being trans and everything is that their body has messed up. It is a medical condition that needs to be treated through transition, and it is diagnosable through dysphoria. So you can't really be trans if you are gender fluid, gender flux, non-binary, don't experience dysphoria, and don't want transition. And that if for some reason you don't want transition, then that either means that you're not really trans, or that you are just so much more mentally messed up. And it does really put being trans as if it's some kind of disease, some kind of mental illness.
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense.
It doesn't. But there is a lot of push from trans medicalists to kind of put off transition. Like, trans medicalists think there needs to be a lot of hoops. Trans medicalists have accused me of grooming children because whenever people come to Tran and they're questioning themselves, I will tell them flat out, you don't need dysphoria. You don't have to do all this other stuff. Literally, if you would just rather be this other gender, that's it. You're trans. And hell, even then, that isn't completely needed. Like, I'm not here to tell you how to live or anything like that. I'm just here to accept you and help you do it healthily. I don't care about anything else.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, it's not our place.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there are a lot of accusations from fundamentalists about going out there, and it always boils down to children. And I think it's because fundamentalism relies so hard on getting to people as children.
Yeah.
They think everybody else is doing it too.
Right. And it's kind of like that thing with religion, where most people don't convert religions, they just stick to whatever religion they were raised in. And so there is a huge push to get more and more kids into the religion by raising them in it, and choosing not to do so is terrible. And of course, they view everyone else as also doing that. And I can confirm this is true before anyone ats me. Just a reminder, I grew up in this. I literally believed this stuff. I know how they think because I used to think that. And I still live in bumfuck South and have a lot of patience like this.
I think there's also like the aspect of using, well, think of the children as a way to turn people's brains off. Because,
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
if you're for this, you're against the children.
Exactly.
Right. And like it doesn't make any sense because
It
as
doesn't.
someone who's been paying attention to biology, if it's hormone therapy, you could reverse that if someone decides,
Exactly.
everything's reversible. It's not like anyone's getting surgery at like younger ages anyhow. So they're
Right.
trying to use that as, you know,
Yeah,
it
they're
kind of like,
right. That isn't we okay, speaking as someone that works in surgery, we don't do sexual reassignment surgery on children because that is not the optimal time to do those surgeries. There isn't enough biomass to use. The body hasn't. It's not. That's not how
still
we do
growing too, right?
things. Yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't that's actually mess up the surgery probably?
Yeah, it would. Anything we did at that young of an age would mess up. And I do need to go ahead and clarify I am not a doctor, I'm not a surgeon. All of the stuff that I'm saying is based on information I've either observed personally or have spoken with doctors about that I work with.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, the best time to get sexual reassignment surgery for most people is around the early 20s. So yeah,
Makes
we're
sense.
not out here cutting off, little Timmy's dick or forcing little Susie to cut off her boobs. It's like, why are you so obsessed with kids' genitalia?
Yeah, that is again, yeah, very
Right?
strange, this whole thing. And it hurts, and like what TERFs don't understand, and I hate TERFs so much, is that you are talking about cis women and and making us just down to our genitals too. And like you're
Yeah,
hurting us too. Like you're not helping women at all.
right.
Any woman.
Like last week, I was doing Topic Tuesday with Meredith,
Hmm.
and we were talking about how that is harmful. And I made a big point about the fact that womanhood, they keep doing this thing where it's like, define womanhood for me. If you're really a woman, define it.
I mean, I'm a cis woman and I can't define it. I was thinking about it because I obviously couldn't make it last time because of that issue, but
Right.
um I was trying to think about it, and I'm like, I legitimately can't define it at all, even for like me, and I consider myself, a woman, and I'm a female at birth, so I'm just like, I don't know. Even I can't define it.
Right. And my thing is that womanhood and manhood too, it's not something that is easily defined, nor should it
Yeah,
be. It's not a black and white box. It's not
exactly.
a set of stereotypes.
Exactly.
Womanhood is nuanced,
Hmm.
complex, personal. I love to work on my car. I want to take my girlfriend for drives on my motorcycle, and I
Hmm.
love axes. I love axes. I have a lot of axes.
I have an axe, actually, too.
Fuck yes,
She
axes are the
does.
best weapon
Okay.
ever.
Is it behind me? Yeah, it's behind me, but it's
It's
behind a
too
bunch of
many axes, maybe.
pops.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, all of those things are feminine because they're my things.
Yeah,
Whenever I drive the motorcycle, I drive it in a womanly way, even if it's identical to the way AMAB guy would drive it.
right.
And
Yeah,
it blows my
actually, yeah.
mind.
Yeah, like I like blood and gore and getting my hands dirty, bugs, all things that are typically considered masculine and stuff. But I'm like, oh, that's feminine to me.
Right? Um, but yeah, coming back to kids and everything like that, um, something that does it kind of disturbs me because it makes me wonder what's going on in these people's minds. Because
Hmm.
growing up fundamentalist, now that I'm out of that sphere, now that I'm or have been working on de-radicalizing myself, I'm never gonna sit here and say that I don't have any problematic issues. I'm still working on that. That stays with you for life. It's really fucked up. It's why we need to do better for the next generation, and I'm gonna raise my kids as openly as possible. That way they don't have to go through those battles.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fair.
it really upsets me whenever people accuse trans people of just trying to use the bathroom of going in there to rape people.
Yeah, that's
Cause
terrible.
yeah, it is. Um, because again, growing up fundamentalist, most of the issues and everything that they would throw out at other people were judgments on themselves. Like the same people that were like, queer people are rapists, they're gonna get you, all this other stuff. They were themselves rape apologists.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Hell, the fucking TW for rape and everything. The fucking guy that was constantly like, those queers, they're gonna molest you and queer your gender and all this other stuff. You need to watch out for them. Wouldn't you know, he's the one that did the molesting.
Right, and the other really strange thing is this whole other side of the issue. Like, yeah, people are worried that a trans woman's going to do any sort of bad things in the bathroom, but that cis women have raped and done horrible things too. Like, it's like, so you got to apply this to every single factor. You could get raped by a woman in the bathroom too, like a cis woman in the bath. You could be raped by anyone in the bathroom, really. You could be raped by a cis woman in the bathroom or anything like that. Like, it's not.
But see, there's a thing. Because I actually had an argument about this over the last few days. And, like, there were people I didn't even know sharing screenshots of my profile to join in on this argument.
Mm-hmm.
There is a legit branch of the gender critical movement that is fairly big that honestly believes cis women cannot be rapists.
That is disgusting, and those people need to rot.
It is. They literally told me because I made a comment of like, no, women rape too, and I brought up my ex-girlfriend who... Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, I brought that up, and I actually had a GC person message me telling me that's wrong. Women don't rape people.
They're a terrible person. Like, I can't describe how much I absolutely hate them and think that they should rot, because that's disgusting. Like, how...
Yeah.
Who in their right mind?
And this is their version of feminism, telling a rape victim they were not raped.
They are evil people, honestly.
They are.
Just putting out there, they're evil people.
They
As
really
a
are.
cis woman that apparently they're trying to protect, to me, they are completely evil.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, they have used a woman that has raped other women, like cis women, as one of their champions. Yeah.
Disgusting. Oh my gosh.
But they talk about trans women going into bathrooms to rape people. Whenever you look up trans people and rape, what comes up is the sheer amount of trans people that are raped and sexually assaulted by cis people. You don't get all these articles of trans women raping people. If anything, you get one or two trans women that are rapists, and those trans people are evil, vile cretins, just like every rapist
just
out
like
there.
Everyone else.
Exactly.
Yeah, just like everyone else.
And it's like one statistic they like to hold up is that a trans woman in a UK jail raped a whole bunch of people. And so they like to tout out the statistic of like, oh, did you see how many rapes were done by trans women? And it's like, okay, 5 of those 8 were done by one person in one jail who was actually like the guards and everything willfully and knowingly enabled her to do that.
Wow.
Like, if they had treated her like she should have been, like any other woman rapist should have been, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, like, it's like, how did she get away with all this?
Exactly.
Because that's a problem on the guards' part, right? Because anyone could have done that. Like, it doesn't matter trans or cis. Like, anyone could have done that, and that would have still been a problem.
Right.
And then you have to bring up, if you're bringing up that statistic, then you have to bring up the statistics of how many people, or how many times cis people are raped in jail, and there's probably a huge discrepancy there, probably way more. So
yeah. But yeah, going back to that topic, they will use children being in the bathrooms, and they've used this argument of like, well, your little daughter is in the bathroom. What if a trans woman goes in there and goes to use the same bathroom? And it's like, honey, we're going in there to pee. Like, what if a cis woman goes in there? Like, oh no, there's 2 people in the bathroom. You know there are unisex bathrooms.
Yeah, there should not be. This is just, the bathroom shouldn't be gendered at all. It's really dumb.
I agree.
It's like, why?
I agree.
It makes no sense. Whatever.
And they don't they think that they're arguing one argument, but they're really not, because especially with the whole bathroom debate, it really boils down to preventing people from existing in public. And I know that as a trans woman, that passes fairly well for a woman outside of, internet stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I never get harassed when I go to use the bathroom, even though I live in bumfuck Arkansas. And, like, all of my neighbors had Trump signs and everything. Like, I've never been harassed in the bathroom, but I know several cis lesbian women that have been because people thought they were trans. And I know a handful of cis heterosexual women who are harassed because one of them happens to like short hair and another one happens to like keeping her hair different colors. And it's like, this is hurting cis women. Why are you willing to cut your nose off to spite your face?
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense. So these people are illogical completely. Like, it's like,
really are
you trying to put all of us into a box again? Because that's what it seems like you're trying to do.
It really is. They're really trying to force gender stereotypes, and the earlier they can do that, the better.
It's terrible.
It really is. They'll make comments about how, like, oh, little Timmy wore a dress when playing with Susie. I guess that means he's trans now. We better go cut off his dick. And it's like, one, that's not how that works. Two, maybe you should examine why you think wearing a dress makes you less masculine. I think the Scottish would like to have a word with you. As well as most of European history before the 1700s and all of Middle Eastern culture for the last couple thousand years.
Pants, there's evidence to suggest pants were invented by women for women.
Women in pants look nice.
The women in pants do look wonderful.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's a very big deal. Pants, they're a terrible thing. They're a scourge. They're going to unravel the fabric of society. Because a mouse happens to be wearing pants.
I love it. That Minnie Mouse debate is just blowing my mind.
Ridiculous. Oh my gosh.
Like,
I'm like, oh.
Right. Like, women can wear pants too, right? It's a
Apparently
thing.
not.
God.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, the only debate we should be having about pants is why the fuck are the pockets so small? Oh my god, I got
better pockets.
These pants have pockets! Like, legit
nice.
fucking pockets. They're awesome.
Nice.
I love them. I had a coworker once say, that's how you know you're really a woman, because I came in one day and I was like showing everyone, like, look at my pants, they have pockets, and I was just like shoving my hand down in them.
Yeah. This is a flipping pockets never in these pants.
Right? I hate that so much. Right? Hashtag stop fake pockets. I love it.
Yeah, fake pockets are the bane of our existence.
They really fucking are. But yeah, that is the core issue about the bathroom debate, is it keeps people from being able to exist in public. Because if they were to pass a law where everything was divided on sex, that would mean that trans men would have to use the female bathroom, and they would be put in danger because you see a guy walking into the women's restroom, you're gonna feel threatened and you're gonna react and all this other stuff, right?
Yeah.
And he outs himself that way. But if he proceeds to go and use the men's restroom, he's now breaking the law, and the men in there get to retaliate.
Yeah.
And it's the same vice versa. If I was to go and use the men's room in the South while dressed like this, I would be worried about my safety. I'm not going to reveal anything about this patient due to confidentiality, but I did have a patient at one point who was a transgender individual that was afraid that they didn't pass, and they used another restroom for their assigned sex at birth, and it led to them being assaulted.
Oh my gosh.
And that's what GC people want. They want to take away queer people's ability to exist in public. And it isn't
just terrible.
Right, and it isn't just gender critical things. The more I've interacted with the gender critical movement, the more I've been able to see the parallels between this movement and the alt-right movement that I was raised in, and that I continued to follow for several years. And you only have to do a little bit of digging under the surface of the most base level GC stuff, and you find a ton of queer phobia just in general.
Yeah,
And,
that's terrible.
right? And if you go even further, you find just as much racism.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. And plus, how do you even regulate all of this? Like, are you gonna just check? You can't do that because that's assault. You can't just check people. So I'm
Right,
like,
exactly.
you know, you're gonna do a
It's
DNA test right in the bathroom? No, of course not. That's
right,
ridiculous.
exactly. It's so stupid. But then on top of that, there was a young woman that was assaulted recently who is a gender critical individual. Her mother, raised her to be that way, and her mother took a
Hmm.
lot of pride in the fact that her teenage daughter was gender critical.
Hmm.
And this daughter went to use the bathroom and was assaulted by a man who thought that she was a transgender woman. And not only did the gender critical movement actually applaud that, they viewed this young woman as a martyr. They held it up as something good that happened. But they don't
Oh my
realize
gosh.
that what this does is it enforces stereotypes. It enforces that
Hmm.
women stick to a certain very religious and Western set of feminine stereotypes. It also shows women that if you're assaulted by a man, it's okay as long as it's under certain conditions, which it's
That's just
not.
disgusting. No, it's not.
The only time anyone should be doing anything like that to you is when you're consenting to it and you're into it.
Right.
Nothing else is good. Don't, no.
Exactly. Agreed.
Aurora asks, and what basis was that good? From what I was aware of while I was following the gender critical reaction to this incident, um, they held it up as, um, basically they were proud that they had a male ally that was willing to assault someone for them. They were proud that it happened at all because it shows people's willingness to assault trans people. And they were proud that the mother of this young lady, instead of throwing gender critical stuff under the bus, instead she basically convinced her daughter to go back to wearing long hair and dresses and stuff like that in order to keep it from happening.
Wow.
Yeah, so complete toxicity the whole way down.
They are evil people.
They are evil
Just flat
people.
out evil people.
They really are. And I think it's interesting that how a lot of the gender critical people that accuse queer people of being rapists are themselves rapists.
Yeah, I agree.
Uh, Easiest example from the last couple decades is all the Catholic priests that came out as rapists, and all of the priests and pastors in general that were found to be abusing their power at the podium to molest and assault people.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I honestly believe that these people that focus on that, they're focusing on it for a reason. How if you're constantly worried that people are going to discover your history of sexual violence and abuse, how you're constantly living with that assumption that everyone else must be like me. There's nothing wrong with me. Everyone else must also be like this. So I got
Hmm.
to point the finger at everyone else to keep everyone off my scent.
Right.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
And I do actually remember having a conversation with a gender critical person at one point where I pointed out how weird it is that they constantly think about people's genitalia, they constantly think about people's chest, all this other stuff whenever they first meet someone. And it's like, I've never met someone and my first thought was, oh, do they have a penis or a vagina? Oh, would I want to have
A weird
sex with
thought.
them? Oh,
What the
it
hell? Yeah,
really
right?
is. And I pointed out how weird it is. And I had so many people responding to me being like, oh, bullshit. That's just how people work. Everyone
That's
thinks
not
like
how
that.
people work. No one thinks like that. Sorry, most people, normal people who have, half a brain don't think about it like that.
Exactly. Whenever I'm
Like,
talking to Billy Bob at the store because I'm missing out on, like, my fucking turkey meatballs because they're not stocked yet, I don't go up to him and think, okay, I really need to ask this young man when they're gonna get the turkey meatballs stocked. I wonder if he has a penis or not. I wonder if he would dom or not. Would I be dom? Would I have to use a strap on? do I need a
Well,
harness? It's like,
that is the
no.
weird. Yeah, I'm into BDSM and stuff, and I'm not. That's not what I think at all. I'm like, the most I think, I'm
Exactly.
like, are they gamers? Do they like this game that I play? That's basically how they're writers.
Yes.
Like, those are
Yes.
my two immediate thoughts. I'm like, if I think about anything, if they're like a friendship thing, I'm just like, oh, what are our common interests? Are we good? Would
Right?
we be good friends? That's
God.
basically it.
I don't understand how they think people think about that like that all the time. People are not constantly in a state of I want to fuck everything that moves. Especially
Yeah,
not queer people where we've been spending the last several generations really cultivating this culture of consent.
yeah. Plus, yeah, and people would say, that is a good because bi folks want to, do that, fuck everyone, and I'm like, that's not true, and like that's a stereotype, and yeah, I don't think that way, but apparently you do.
Exactly. And I get that a lot because I'm pansexual. My
hmm
girlfriend and I are in an openly polyamorous relationship, and we're
hmm
into the kink scene. So I
Yeah.
constantly get accusations. Well, constantly get. I have gotten accusations, and I see people accusing others like me
hmm
that I must be a crazy sex-starved maniac who spends all of my time. And it's like, honey,
It's like, have you ever heard of preferences? You know that like 95% of people are not even remotely on my list ever.
right? And it's like on top of that, like if I spent all the time being a sexual deviant that you did, one, I would know a lot more people. Two, I would not have anything done. Do you think
Right.
I have time to go around and have sex with everyone in my city whenever I'm trying to run a Twitch stream and a fucking Discord?
Yeah, I know, right? It's like
On
people
top
have
of your
lives.
job.
What's up?
Sit on top of your job. Sorry.
Right, on top of my medical work? Like,
Right. That's so funny.
fuck.
Oh, gosh.
You get to judge me and my sexual proclivities after you've worked a 48-hour shift in the ER. Fuck you.
Kudos to you, though. I
Uh,
kind of something I want to eventually do someday, but
yeah,
that's cool.
is work in medical? Go for it.
Yeah,
Hey, if you ever want any help, just let me know.
we'll do.
I got those cheat codes. Um, but yeah, it really is crazy. And actually, you're wearing a Dungeons and Dragons shirt now. Your Lucky
Oh yeah,
D20
yep,
shirt.
yeah. Lucky
I
D20.
love it.
I love your
Um,
shirt too, by the way. I
oh,
forgot to
thank
mention that.
you. I
It's awesome.
I have this thing where I like to be punk, but I also really like flowers, so I have a whole bunch of different shawls that just
Yeah.
have flowers on them.
Are those roses on there?
I believe so.
I love roses, so I'm like, oh
Same.
man, I love it. Yeah, roses are awesome. I love
Yeah,
it.
I love it. Um, but I remember growing up and Dungeons and Dragons
hmm
was used as a way to basically keep queer kids down. I remember I got a Dungeons and Dragons book from my brother, and my grandparents made me return it to him because they were convinced that me being as I am, that Satan would communicate with me through the Dungeons and Dragons book and would use it to corrupt me and make me queer. And
The queer
I love that.
inside you all along.
It's ironic because the Dungeons and Dragons community used to be very closed-minded, and
Really
it's changing.
is.
And we can see those people coming out of the woodwork right now, screaming about all these changes, like,
Right?
to get over it and stop it. Like,
Borealis, thank you for the hydration. But yeah, I think it's funny because D&D for me as someone who's been a DM for God, I'm about to turn 28. I've been a DM longer than 10 years.
wow.
Dude, I've noticed that like a lot of people will use Dungeons and Dragons to explore their queer identity. And that's with RPGs and video games in general. Like
It's true.
even way before I came to terms with being a trans woman, every game I played, I hated playing the guy. If there was a girl option, that was my option. And
hmm
I hated the over-sexualization. I was like, no, I don't want to put her in a bikini. I don't want to... Just give me some real fucking armor.
Right. Yeah, that's what I did with my characters. Usually they'd be in full plate or something, like when I played
Right.
WoW.
God, girls in plate mail. I want a full fucking suit of armor. I want to go and pick up my girlfriend in a full suit of armor and just fucking carry her. That would be so
That's
cool.
great.
Oh, that damn queer deviancy wanting to carry around their girlfriends in armor.
Right.
Ooh, I could have a sword scabbard on it too. Or not a sword, fuck swords, an axe scabbard on it.
Mm-hmm.
What?
It's weird.
I just
Look
like
at
that
more
you
guy
like
characters now.
immediate responses. Wait, no, fuck swords.
Fuck swords, I want an axe.
Great.
You could also like
Axes
have
are
a
awesome.
staff.
A staff? I could. Can I put an axe head on it? Like a halberd. It's...
I mean, I'm thinking of like one of those things that is like collapsible and you can press a button and the blades swing out so it becomes an axe.
Oh, that's cool.
Great.
But, yeah, Right, no, we don't fuck swords here. Or at least not sharpened ones, only ones that we buy from Bad Dragon.
Great.
Yeah, or lances. So... Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of people use D&D as well as RPGs in general to explore their sexuality and gender. The most notable stereotype, of course, being trans girls playing Fallout. Because,
Oh, really?
yeah, that's a weird stereotype in the trans girl community.
I never heard that one.
Oh, nice.
Do you hear, Anna?
I do. I have a cat meowing morosely at the door. You can go open the door if you want. But yeah, I have noticed a lot of people using D&D to explore all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's interesting how a lot of the things that fundamentalists push back against, like Dungeons and Dragons, video games, etc., are things that people use, even if they don't realize it, to explore themselves and their relation to others in their society, to their culture, you know, to all of this other stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Actually, Aurora, I see the stereotype is usually associated with Fallout New Vegas. But yeah, basically anything that could allow a child any level of autonomy is kind of pushed back against, because a child having autonomy means that that child is going to develop independently and is going to question the culture.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous to anyone who views that culture as the end-all be-all, because if you question it, you might find something better, and you might start to see the flaws. You might start seeing the cracks in the wall, and that is not good. So, yeah.
That's true.
Anything you want to add? Any observations?
No, I agree. And you can see it applied to the U.S. in general, too. Like how, as a child, at least in school, I was drilled in that the U.S. is perfect and all of that. And of course, I learned about all the issues, but they were kind of brushed over. And growing up now, I obviously see all the flaws, and I am very much not a patriot.
Yeah, me neither.
And
At least not in the way they want me to be.
no, not
I love
exactly.
America. I love this country so much. I would die for this country. Everything about this country, I want to change it.
Yeah, everything needs to change. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I don't have love for it, but I mean, I agree that it needs to change. So like, it's funny how that happens. So no, I agree entirely.
I don't love what America is. I love what it could be if people
That's
would get
true.
off their asses. And I am of the firm opinion that if you honestly love something, you will do what you can to try and see it change for the better.
Right. That's a good point. Well, these people are just think that they are the end all be all and they're terrible, but it's annoying.
It really is.
More than annoying. That's an understatement, but
It really is. I agree completely. But yeah, something I've seen within a lot of fundamentalist circles, and I actually saw this growing up, was children aren't seen as having any level of autonomy. They're not treated like humans. They're treated more like robots that are meant to be programmed and created in a certain image. And that's just really not the case. And I've had people comment, even before my transition, about how I am surprisingly good with kids. And I love kids. I love being around them. But the only thing that I'm really doing differently is I'm giving them the patience they deserve as humans. Like, they're not stupid. They're not animals. sit down and talk to them, listen to them,
Right.
respect their emotions, and instead of telling them to kill the emotions, to shove it down, teach them how to
Hmm.
handle it. They're new to this. They don't have those experiences yet. That
Exactly.
it comes with time, and they haven't had that time.
Hmm.
But of course, anything that gives a kid autonomy means that they may not grow up to be the little robot that the parents want them to be.
Hmm.
And I've been seeing this a lot with my own mother, where she seems less less broken up about the fact that, I used to be an alcoholic, I've attempted suicide and all this other stuff in the past. That
Hmm.
doesn't bother her. What bothers her is the fact that I'm no longer a guy, that I'm not going to live the life that she wanted me to live, of getting married to a girl, having kids, and all this other stuff.
Hmm.
And it's like, Mom, you're mourning something that never happened in the first place. You're mourning
Right.
a fantasy you had that you
And
realized isn't going to come true.
yeah, and it's weird how these people are obsessed with people having families and children. Like, why does what other people do matter to you so much? Is my question. Like, why does it matter if someone settles down and have kids or not? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Um, I don't get it. I really don't.
Hmm.
Yes, Meredith, I want to marry my girlfriend eventually. And maybe my girlfriend's boyfriend if she ever gets one. That way I can tease him about it. Um, but, yeah, I don't get it either. And kids should be allowed to be kids.
Yeah, I agree.
And I see some trans people using that as a thing of like, oh, let kids be kids. Don't sit here and try and trans their gender. And it's like, no, we need to take that in the opposite direction. Let kids be kids. Let them have their questions. If a kid comes up to me and they say, hey, I'm questioning my gender, I don't think I want to be X, it's like, cool, you don't gotta be.
Hmm.
Or hell, you could be X, and you could be X however you want. You can be a guy
Right.
in a dress. You can be a woman in overalls. You can be whatever you want to be. You don't have to stick to stereotypes. You don't have to let others dictate your life. And that's totally okay.
Exactly.
And we
I
need
agree.
to start giving kids the safety and the room to breathe, to explore, to learn, to build up the experience of self understanding. Because when you
Hmm.
don't allow that, you get a whole bunch of mind washed little puppets running around doing stupid shit like trying to overthrow an election.
Yep.
And that's not okay.
No, it's not. Not at all.
Well, I've more or less said everything I need to say. Everything I said boils down to the little speech I just gave.
Yeah. And that makes sense. I agree.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly.
Thank you, Des. Abby, is there anything you'd like to add?
Not really. I'm just vibing, petting on it. So,
That's Midge. She's a good girl. Well, thank you, Des. You're a
Okay.
good friend of mine. Thank you for showing
Hmm.
up. To everyone watching, Dessa Master, she writes some really cool, really bloody vampire fiction, including
Yeah.
recently getting into some erotica.
Oh yeah, that's just a side. Yeah, but yes, that's true. It's accepted.
But yeah, please feel free to check her out. I would love if you would go and give her some support. She does write
I
some good
appreciate it.
stuff. Yeah, please go and support her. In addition to that, thank you all for showing up today. I hope you eat and drink. Please take care of yourselves. If you'd like to watch some more streams and everything, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for the posture check, Aurora. I'm now sitting properly. Tits on. Ow! I was gonna make a joke about tits on fleek no longer weighing down my shoulders, but then yeah, cords. I say after I get tangled again. Um, if you'd like to watch some more stuff after this, I will be streaming Mirror's Edge later. And I might also do a wholesome stream where I just kind of talk to people, do my whole wholesome mom thing while doing some laundry and some other weird stuff. So feel free to come and hang out. And please, again, check out Dessa's stuff. It's actually
Thank
really,
you.
really cool. I love you all. Thank you for showing up. And goodbye.